watching The End Zone, sponsored by Lucky Star Casino.
And welcome to another special edition of The End Zone from the Pregame Center. Along with Josh Callaway, I am Colby Daniels. The Oklahoma City Thunder are back in the Western Conference Finals for the first time since 2016. Tonight it's Game 1 versus the Minnesota Timberwolves, a best of 7. The Thunder trying to punch their ticket to the NBA Finals. Josh, this is an exciting series. Great matchup for the Thunder, and I can't wait to see how this plays out.
Yeah, really fired up for this game tonight, and this series should be an awesome, long series. The two best teams in the West. We got them here, the Thunder and the T-Wolves. Should be a battle starting tonight. You can feel it. The Western Conference Finals, a little extra mayhem in this place already compared to the previous round. It's going to be fun. I'm excited for this game tonight.
The energy absolutely has been dialed up from where we were just a few days ago, Game 7 against the Denver Nuggets, so I'm expecting a wild crowd tonight for game number 1. Before we start breaking this game down, let's kick it over to David Chazanoff, who is at Thunder in the Park, as really the entire city is ready to start this series. David.
Yeah, that's right, Colby and Josh. I'm here with someone who probably would have been my enemy last year when Thunder were playing Dallas Mavericks. You might know him on Twitter. His name is Jason Gallagher, runs the Mind the Game podcast. Jason, you have an interesting story because you were a Dallas Mavericks fan earlier this season. Then the Luka trade happened.
That's right. The Dallas Mavericks, Mark Cuban was the owner, sold ownership, got a new GM. Things started to change around the franchise that we weren't loving, and then they did the unthinkable. They traded the Dallas Mavericks' beloved star, Luka Doncic, and a lot of us decided to break up. I live 5 minutes from here, so it was real easy for me. I was like, oh, that team that's like super fun to watch that my kid loves, and like, let's go. And so I dove head first into being a Thunder fan. I love it.
I love that. So what has been your first impressions of being part of the Thunder Up fan base?
Great young fan base. I love young fan bases in the sense that like, here's my barometer, okay? Whenever they put like a noisometer on the Jumbotron, everyone in the crowd is like, dude, we're affecting that. You know what I mean? And if you go to Dallas, they're like, who cares? They all wear the T-shirts. They scream whenever they tell them to scream. They're bought in. And that's what I love about the Thunder.
And before we let you go, we have to ask you for your prediction to Minnesota, Oklahoma City. What do you got?
Thunder in 5. I think this is going to be a really tough matchup, but I think the last series really prepared the Thunder mentally for what they're about to take on. Nikola Jokic is the best player in the NBA, in my opinion, and there's nobody like that. I love Ant, but there's nobody like that on the T-Wolves. Thunder in 5. I'm calling it.
Hey, really hope you're right. Thank you so much, Jason. We'll send it back to you guys. Reporting live in Oklahoma City, David Chasanoff, Fox 25 News.
David, thanks a lot. Thunder in 5. That's a pretty optimistic view of what this series is. And look, that could very much happen. Just because the Thunder potentially could win in 5 doesn't mean that this wouldn't be a competitive series.
Sure.
As we saw in the last series, there were competitive games that went both ways. There were a couple blowouts, but you could be the better team over the final couple minutes and this thing be tight in all 5 games. I tend to think it's probably going on the longer side of things. This is a rested Timberwolves team that is absolutely playing its best basketball here at the end of the year. I do think something that he said is very valuable in terms of this series. All the lessons that the Thunder learned in that 7-game series against the Denver Nuggets, and it's something Mark Daigneault preached.
Absolutely. You could see in real time the Thunder getting better and better at handling these clutch, big-time situations as the Denver series went on. What you saw in Game 3 is not what you saw in Game 4, in Game 5, and certainly in Game 7 where they just kind of ran away with it, obviously, there in a blowout fashion at home. I agree. The Timberwolves, they may be a 6 seed. That's a bit misleading. They played as well as anyone the second half of the year, after the All-Star break especially. It's going to be a battle. I'm expecting a longer series, probably with a lot of tight games like we saw multiple times in the Denver series.
I mean, this was a Minnesota team that was in the Western Conference Finals a year ago and lost to the Dallas Mavericks. They were the 6th seed largely because of injuries throughout the regular season, but they are locked and loaded for this postseason, as are the Thunder. I know that they only have a couple days rest, but once again, you expect that the depth is going to carry them through the series.
Yeah, that's the biggest advantage the Thunder have over anyone they're going to play. They're the deepest team in the NBA. You saw that time and time again against Denver. Alex Caruso off the bench. Kaysen Wallace was phenomenal. Aaron Wiggins was phenomenal. Jalen Williams was phenomenal battling against Nikola Jokic. The Thunder having 6, 7, 8, 9 guys that they can come in that second unit is such a huge luxury that not anyone else really has. So that'll be a major factor as this series goes on, coming off a long series for the Thunder. Minnesota's got the rest advantage. OKC had that against Denver. They don't have it this time, but their depth, you would think, would be something that would help them overcome that.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see, Alex Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, those guys that come off the bench, they've absolutely given this team a lift in the postseason. Speaking of Alex Caruso, he is absolutely a fan favorite. I mean, at this point, somebody has got to be at least designing the statue of Alex Caruso that might eventually get built. But he had a lot of interesting defensive matchups in the last series, especially Game 7. He got matched up on Nikola Jokic. This morning at Thunder Shoot-Around in preparation for this Game 1, he talked about just getting that call and the number of different matchups that he takes pride in.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's a bit of an ego boost for me just because it's fun to be able to get stops, and I take pride in guarding the best players in the world, and I have for a handful of years now. It's where a lot of my value is created in this league and started. So obviously I relish the challenge just because I'm super competitive. It's never easy. Obviously, these are the most talented players in the world, especially offensively. So just being ready for whatever the game throws at me, whether it's, like I said, out on the perimeter or down low.
And obviously one of those matchups is the guy that is taking shoot-around practice behind us right now, and that is Anthony Edwards, who potentially is the next face of the NBA, right? He's a highlight reel just waiting to explode every single game. Second straight Western Conference Finals for him, but that's going to be a big test for not only Alex Caruso, but you would imagine Lou Dort and Cason Wallace. The good news is they have multiple bodies to throw at the Minnesota superstar.
Yeah, they just faced a top 5 player in the sport in Nikola Jokic, another one here with Anthony Edwards, and they did really as good of a job as you could expect in bothering Jokic. We talked about that throughout the series. Can they replicate that with Ant Edwards this week? You would think that there won't be a single possession, that it won't be some combination of Dort, Caruso, and Cason Wallace on him over the series. You're going to need to have your best defenders to try and limit him, make the other guys beat you, because this is a guy that, like you said, future face of the league type of talent. He can take over a game. He's shown an ability to do that in the second halves of these playoff games. That'll be a major key. Can the Thunder limit him and keep him from just taking over this series? That'll be a huge factor.
I think in the last series you saw two superstars in SGA and Nikola Jokic that are incredibly efficient with their game, right? Especially their offensive game. Not just scoring, but how they get other people involved. Anthony Edwards isn't quite the same in terms of efficiency, shooting the basketball, knowing when to pick his spots, but he has improved, I think, his overall command of the game and ability to get others involved. They don't necessarily have a number 2 scorer that you are shaking in your boots, but you can't allow Anthony Edwards to be the guy that gets his and creates offense for others.
Yeah, exactly. He's shown, like I said, an ability to take over these games, and he wants that. That's another thing. He's got that dog in him, as they say. I mean, he steps up in these types of moments. He relishes this spot, especially being on the road. You can tell he's going to come out and bring his best. Him and SGA, that battle. They're such different guys. They're both top 5 players. They're both guards. But they're totally different personalities, the way they play. That matchup's going to be a lot of fun to watch throughout the course of this series.
Other than Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle is the other guy that obviously has had really high highs in his NBA career. He's had low lows. I think consistency is probably the biggest thing that you would critique his game on, but he's a very valuable piece to them making a run. Rudy Gobert is a multi-time defensive player of the year. He's been an all-star. Not a guy offensively that you expect to have a big series. Who else from this team are you worrying about, at least on the offensive side of things?
Yeah, a couple. The first one that jumps out, obviously, I think for most Thunder fans, would be Naz Reid, who has been kind of a bit of a Thunder killer, frankly, this season in particular. He's a matchup nightmare. When he's rolling with his length, the way he can shoot it, he's tough for anyone to kind of handle, and at times he has really hurt the Thunder throughout the course of the regular season. He'll be a key, and then I'll throw SGA's cousin in there too, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. That's a fun matchup. SGA talked about it, that he's like a brother, but he wants to take his head off this week. This series, that'll be fun to watch to see how those two kind of match up, that family matchup there with SGA and Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Now, on the defensive end of the floor, that's where Minnesota really, I think, makes their money. This is a team that is going to be much better defensively than Denver was in the last series, especially in the half-court offense. If you thought the Thunder struggled offensively in the half-court sets last series, I think it's going to be worse this series, especially with a guy like Gobert protecting the rim. They have to shoot better, especially when they have open looks. But they also turn the ball over a lot, and if you can get transition buckets, that'll make up for some of what Minnesota throws at you defensively.
Yeah, it feels like transition and getting out and running, forcing turnovers is going to be huge in this series for the Thunder. Like you said, Rudy Gobert, a multi-time defensive player of the year. He can gobble up rebounds. He can take over games. I know it sounds weird because he's not like an offensive weapon, so to say, right? But against the Lakers, you saw early in the playoffs, he can make a huge impact on a game in a series. So that's going to be a key one for me. Like you said, turnovers, out in transition. That's how they buried the Nuggets twice. In the 2 blowouts, that was the common thread. Just a lot of easy buckets with their speed and athleticism. If they can do that a handful of times in this series, they'll be in good shape.
And the other thing is they got to take care of home floor, right? You have home court advantage for a reason, so take care of business on your home floor. Don't fall into the hole that they did in the last series. Mark Dagnall talked about this OKC crowd and how it's really lifted them, and that potentially the Game 5 or Game 7 crowd was as good as he's ever seen.
The crowd has always been great here. I always reference our rebuild years. Because to me, that was when we really, or at least for me, I was always amazed by the support and the positivity that the community had around a team that was, losing way more games than they were winning. And that's only continued as the team has grown. I think our fans, our fan base deserve a lot of credit for that. And yesterday was, the second quarter run yesterday was as loud as I've heard it, maybe ever. And you can just feel the excitement in the community. We have a great deal of appreciation and gratitude for our fans because everybody in the city seems to be behind us, and we certainly feel that. And when we play at home, that's certainly an advantage for us.
And I can confirm the energy is already off the charts here for game number 1 of the Western Conference Finals. I expect the buzz to do nothing but build as we get closer and closer to that 7:30 tip-off tonight. We'll have more a little bit later in the hour. That's Josh CALLWAY. I'm Colby Daniels. This is a special edition of the End Zone from the Pregame Center. We have headlines and weather coming up next. Welcome back to the Paycom Center. We are a little over 2 hours away from tip-off of Game 1 in the Western Conference Finals matchup, the Oklahoma City Thunder with home court advantage against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Before we give final thoughts and keys to this series, let's check in one more time with David Chazanov, who is over at Thunder in the Park. David.
Colby, Josh, I am literally so starstruck right now. We have a Thunder player with us. Maybe he should be warming up right now, but that's okay. We have Gary Jennings Jr., big fan of Alex Caruso, obviously. Tell me about your getup here. This is awesome.
Yeah, this is just ode to him. My headband, his armband, the leggings, everything about it. It's just all about embodying him, the OG guy on the team, an OG guy. That's where I'm at. And just kind of giving everything to the court, everything to the fans, and just doing it every game.
Absolutely. So when did you come up with this idea to dress up like your favorite player?
It kind of come up as he was going through the season. We were like really getting behind him, and of our group, I'm kind of the older guy. So I was like, hey, I'm the OG. And when we started hearing him OG, and I was like, hey, I like that. And then we found these ball caps, and I was like, I can go exactly as Caruso because I love him.
I love that. What has been your most enjoyable part about dressing like AC Fresh?
Oh, it's just the excitement it brings. I can feel it around me, the excitement and the energy that all the fans give out, and everybody loves it, and it just feels like it's another level of excitement for the city that we got.
I love that. And before we let you go, what is your prediction for Minnesota versus Oklahoma City?
Really good team. I think we're going to get them in 6. Both home games right now, then we probably will drop 1 or 2 at their house, but we're going to get them in 6 games pretty easily.
I really hope you're right. Thank you so much, Gary. Thank you. Reporting live in Oklahoma City, David Chazanov, Fox 25 News.
Thank you, David. Caruso Mania has absolutely swept
He's the
OKC.
king of Oklahoma right now.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
I remember looking up his basketball reference statistics when they signed him this offseason. He had about 13 nicknames, and I asked him before the year, what's your favorite? And he said Caruso. So for everybody out there, that's the preferred nickname by the one and only Alex Caruso, who's going to be an X factor in this series.
100%. AC Fresh, as he was referred to there. He's been so good throughout the postseason. You imagine if the Thunder win this series and go the length of it, he'll be right at the center of it.
Absolutely. I'm curious to know what the whistle is going to be like in this series. Yeah. A lot was made from Minnesota's end about how the Thunder are officiated. And look, I think the NBA community in general has paid a close attention to the Thunder's whistle.
Yeah, no doubt. Chris Finch talked about that back in February whenever the Thunder and T-Wolves played a bunch of games in a little short, time span. That was a big conversation from the Denver end in the last round. It'll be a conversation, I'm sure, again. The Thunder played with such an intense physicality that, they kind of go with that approach of they're not going to call everything, and that's what the Thunder have played all year, and I imagine it'll be more of the same. And like you said, I am sure that will be a part of the conversation again throughout this series.
In terms of keys to this series in general, I think if you get the open looks you had in the last series, you have to knock those down. Minnesota's half-court defense is much better than Denver, but they don't score nearly as efficiently. They have a tendency to turn the ball over, so you got to capitalize there as well. For Josh Callaway, I'm Colby Daniels. This has been another special edition of The End Zone from the Pregame Center as we get ready for Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals.